tonight is Republican Corrin Rankin. She's an advisory board member of the Black Voices for Trump Coalition. She's also the founder of the Legacy Republican Alliance, which looks to recruit African Americans to the Republican Party. She's also a delegate for California at the RNC in 2016. And joining us, as he has every evening, is our political analyst, Larry Gersten. Okay, Corrin, I do want to start with you. At the end of this, some of the Democrats were saying, particularly Schumer, who said that the Republican senators are going to have a hard road ahead, disproving what the Democrats put forward today. I'm sure you don't agree.
No, I adamantly disagree. You know, from the very beginning, Speaker Nancy Pelosi promised us that she would not move forward with impeachment unless she had overwhelming evidence and bipartisan support. So we know now that they moved forward with impeachment without bipartisan support. And now that the impeachment process has moved toward the Senate, the House managers and the Senate Democrats are asking for more witnesses and more evidence. So what does that tell us? That tells us that the Democrats basically failed to gain bipartisan support and that they never had overwhelming evidence, because if they did, they wouldn't be asking for it now.
But in a traditional trial, you have evidence and you're able to bring in subpoena people and you're able to bring in witnesses. It seems that for most Americans, they're having a hard time understanding why this isn't the case in probably what is one of the most important cases in the United States.
Right. Well, you know, when the impeachment process was going through the House, the president wasn't allowed to bring witnesses at that point either. So
Larry I see Larry wanting to jump in.
I don't want to step on you at all, but you're absolutely right. When the Intelligence Committee and the other two committees interviewed witnesses, the president's people were not there, although the Republicans were in those meetings, Republican members of those three committees. When it moved to the Judiciary Committee, however, the president was invited, along with his members of his staff, to be part of whatever deliberations come out. I don't think that would have stopped anything from happening in terms of the Democrats, but there is that kind of a change. But if I could tag on to something you said earlier, there's sort of a catch-22 here in a sense, in that you're absolutely right. The Democrats didn't have the goods in the place of the good documents and in the place of witnesses who were right there with the president. On the other side of it, you know, the president said, I'm not giving you anything. I'm not giving you the documents. I'm not giving you my people. And so they went they played cards, so to speak, with perhaps not the best ones on the deck. The only ones they had, and whether that's enough is another story.
Well, that's the question. Now that you've watched all of the prosecution case, did they do enough? Did they change maybe even just four minds on the Republican side to get what they want?
Well, that would only get them witnesses. That would only get them witnesses if they got those four votes. Then after the witnesses, assuming there were some, then the vote would be anyway. And you're talking about 20 votes. 20 votes, 20 Republicans who have to move over.
They're not going to get
it. That assumes that every
This impeachment
Democrat
process has done nothing but align the Republican Party closer together. It's disenfranchised people who are registered Democrats. It's moving independents over to the Republican Party. You know, I think that the Democrats have lost credibility because from day one, even before this president was sworn into office, they were talking about impeachment then. So it's, you know, at this point, it's like if he were to jaywalk across the street, they'd be ready to impeach him for that. So they've lost credibility since, you know, January 2017 until today. So they finally want to do it. You know, we have an election coming up this November. So if the American people are unhappy with this president, then they can use their voice at the ballot to decide not to re-elect him as president. But instead of allowing our process, our political process and our democratic process to go through and let the American people decide, the Democrats have decided that they want to, you know, impeach the president and undermine the results of the previous election. And in my opinion, it's because the slate of Democrat candidates is a weak slate of candidates.
I want you to dovetail to what she said, but Adam Schiff today said that right matters. It's how he closed today that the right thing has to be done.
Well, that's right. As far as he's concerned, the Democrats are concerned. The question is, what's the right thing?
Right.
For the Democrats, it's clear what the right thing is. For the Republicans, not so much. But I think we got to go back just a little bit and talk about who's lost what kind of credibility. It may be the Democrats in the House lost some credibility, but as far as the independents moving the Republicans and whatnot, actually all you have to do is look back to 2018 and the tremendous surge of Democrats, winning all those seats in the House, taking over the majority.
So I'm
not so sure.
That's typical.
Well,
history.
I'm not so sure that given what's going on, that's going to necessarily drop off. We don't know. We just don't know. There's no real indicator, no evidence.
I think this impeachment process is really starting to wake people up, and they're really starting to realize, our economy is booming. People are happy in their jobs. They're happy with their 401ks. Black and Hispanic unemployment rates are at the lowest in history. And, the way people are seeing this play out right now, they're thinking, hey, what are they're trying to take my job away from me? They're trying to, diminish my 401k. People feel safe right now. They feel safe, their personal safety, and they feel safe in their jobs and in their retirement funds. I just do not think that the American people are buying into this impeachment process. In fact, they have what's being called impeachment fatigue. And so I don't see it. I see that the Democrats they're hurting themselves. They're hurting themselves, they're hurting their party, they're hurting their elected officials, and they're hurting their presidential candidates who have to take time off the Iowa trail, the campaign trail, and come back to the Senate and sit through an impeachment trial. That could be time that they should be actively campaigning if they want to be the next president of the United States.
I did hear Elizabeth Warren when she was asked a couple of days ago whether this was an issue that they were being taken off the campaign trail. And Elizabeth Warren said, and I want you to discuss this, Larry, is even though she was taken off the campaign trail, that was more important to do what was right for America, for the Constitution, for us as a nation, than what was needed to be done for us as individuals, whether it was our money, our 401k, or our own personal campaigns that we're out doing.
I think every senator, Democrat and Republican, both believe that being in that audience, those 100 people over these last few days, was the most important use of their time, no matter what. And that goes for people on the campaign trail. That goes for people who might want to go home to their states. This is a serious thing when you talk about impeachment. There's no question about that. But what's interesting is that as much as you'd like to say that, maybe the Democrats have lost some speed, I don't know, maybe they have, but all the public opinion polls when it comes to the impeachment issue show about a 52-45 percentage breakdown, 52% saying he should be convicted, 45% saying no. So, no, he's not going to be convicted. Absolutely not.
No,
whether the Democrats have lost a lot of speed, I'm not so sure.
I think they have. I just want to remind everyone back in 2016 when all of the polling said that Hillary Clinton was going to win. So every time someone brings up the polls and what the polls say, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt.
Okay. With that in mind, I'm going to bring up a poll.
A grain of salt.
Take it back from the impeachment. Let's just talk about the witnesses, because we know that when the defense is done, that's the next question is, do we call witnesses? A new poll comes out, 66% of Americans want to hear from witnesses in this trial. Now, you had said the defense didn't make their case, but it sounds like people do want this to, at least they want to learn more about what's going on.
I think that's fair if that's the way we're going to go and we're going to call witnesses, it's fair. I mean, this impeachment process is again hurting the Democrat slate of candidates, because every time people hear impeachment and why we're impeaching, it all harkens back to Joe Biden and what him and his son Hunter Biden did with Burisma. So they think that they're hurting the president, but they're hurting themselves and they're hurting their slate of candidates.
This is a determination by President Trump that he wants to be all-powerful. He does not have to respect the Congress. He does not have to respect the representatives of the people. Only his will goes. He is a dictator.
When you hear Nadler say something like that, are you just baffled? Are you offended?
Frankly, I think it's just laughable. I mean, this is America. We don't have dictators. Donald Trump was elected president by the American people through votes. The people put him in office. This is not a dictatorship. I think that the Democrats are going too far. They're going too far when they use these outlandish terms that, I don't know if they use it to fundraise or what benefits they get from that. But what people see is that they're going too far.
You feel he overstepped his bounds?
Absolutely.
Same question for you, Larry. When you hear Representative Nadler say that, do you feel he went too far?
He probably could have used different words, but it's interesting that all through the last 3 days, the president several times brought up the idea that the president's behavior resembles that of a monarch. So I don't know where you separate monarch from dictator. I guess dictator has a harsher sound to it, but it's clear that the Democrats believe the president has abused his power. That's why they had those 2 articles. Now, again, it's up to not only the Republicans to decide whether to convict him, unlikely, but also how the public comes away from this whole thing, this whole experience. They may have fatigue, but what else will they have? Will they have some more wisdom from this? Will they have different ideas? We don't know.
Okay, Corrin, what do you want to see happen next in the next, the Republicans now will have 24 hours to plead their case over several days. They say they don't even need to use that much. Right. What do you want them to do next? What would you like to see?
I would just like to see them argue this based on the facts. Just keep everything factual. This whole process has been based on hearsay. You overheard someone talking at the water cooler, that they overheard another person say something. I mean, if we're going to compare this to a trial in our court system and our judicial system, there has never been a case brought, a criminal case or a civil case brought against someone based on hearsay. As a matter of fact, if an attorney brings up hearsay in a court of law, the judge will immediately throw it out. It's not admissible. So I think that the team of the Republican lawyers should just keep everything factual.
Larry, what can we expect to see over the next couple of days? Now we flip the script.
I don't think it's going to go that long. Wouldn't surprise me if it ends by Monday, because Republicans don't have a lot to say, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. What they're saying is, look, you haven't made your case. So what?
There's nothing there.
Theory. Mm-hmm. There's nothing there. Or at least whatever is there is a step away. Circumstantial. Now, Democrats have a comeback. Their comeback is, you didn't let us get what we wanted. Okay, and maybe the president didn't do that. Maybe the president's dead wrong for that. Whatever. The fact of the matter is, they didn't get that evidence. And as far as Republicans are concerned, that's going to be enough to hold everybody off.
I want to ask you, Corrin, a question that we had. I asked the Democrat that was here yesterday. How do we get over this and move past all this animus and be able then to go back to working together when this is all over?
Well, I think it's really going to be, and I think it's really going to be up to Californians. I mean, if you think about it, Californians and New Yorkers, it's our representatives that are spearheading this effort. So we can really, make some moves at the ballot box to not see this type of thing continue. This is a partisan impeachment, just the same as we had with Bill Clinton. And when the Republicans did that, it hurt them dearly. And so I think history is going to repeat itself, and we're going to see at the end of this that the Democrat Party in and of itself is going to be hurt dearly because of this.
Corrin, thank you very much. Larry, thank you very much. Some of the most enlightening civil discussion I've heard on the topic yet. So thank you all for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me.